Let the meltdown begin. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network. I am Gabriel Morency. Let's do this thing. As you can see, I have Robin Black sitting alongside. It's always a pleasure having Mr. Black in studio with us. Joey Odessa will kick it with us from Costa Rica in a couple of moments' time. And Joey's all fired up today. Joey's got some thoughts on the Duke Roufus controversy. Of course, he's got some thoughts on Mark Hunt and Fabricio Verdum / Cain Velasquez. Daniel Cormier says, I'm never fighting at heavyweight again. And it's interesting because I think Daniel Cormier could probably be the heavyweight champion, even if Cain Velasquez was still fighting. That's right, I said it. But I like where DC's coming with this. He's saying, I ain't fighting at heavyweight. I'm going to be the champion. And you know what? He is going to be the champion. He's going to beat John Jones. But we got fights to break down before we get to that fight. And great stuff, Robin. It's always a pleasure, my man.
Yeah, man. Good hanging with you. Good hanging with you. I think I'm going to disagree with a lot of what you and Odessa have to say about my friend Duke Roufus, though. Okay.
Well, no, let's jump in. Let's jump right in here. So, yeah, big controversy that's really come to light. Although the tragic event took place a while ago.
Yeah.
Last March, right?
Yeah.
So the tragic event, there was a death of a fighter, 24-year-old Dennis Munson, amateur fighter, kickboxer. Looks up to Roufus from Milwaukee and Pettis. And if I'm going to learn, hey, I'll go to Duke Roufus's gym. Duke Roufus holding unsanctioned events in his gym. Sort of, a fight club type deal with the fighters at his gym. Unsanctioned. There was an ambulance on the scene, yet as we found out, they were greatly unprepared for what happened. And unfortunately, a 24-year-old man lost his life, and his family are just devastated. They expect that his son was going to be in safe hands with Duke Roufus. So subsequently, now the Pylon Effect starts to happen. Pat Barry comes out. Pat Barry, credible, was a member of the team. Pat Barry basically said Duke Roufus is a monster, has left me in the hospital, called me a loser, and flew back home to Milwaukee without even seeing how I was doing. Eric Schaefer was the grappling coach there. Says that we purposely injured fighters, intimidated others so they wouldn't come back. There's an ugly picture being painted right now about Duke Roufus's gym. And what I found disturbing, I don't have a problem with the tough love. I don't have a problem with a tough love, a hard-ass trainer. These wrestling coaches and NCAA, Robin, they beat the crap out of the kids.
Yeah.
They beat the crap. They reduced them to tears. I don't have a problem with tough love with a professional fighter. If you want to run Anthony Pettis' ass into the ground, that's fine. I do have a problem when a mother thinks her 24-year-old kid's just having some fun over at Duke Roufus's gym, and this kid's getting his brains bashed in, and Duke Roufus is watching it happen because, the kid's, is he tough or not? Then I have a major problem with this. Robin, what's your take?
These things are unrelated. On one hand, you have the loss of a life, and that's sad, and that we need to pursue looking at what has to happen with sanctioning, what to make sure that this kind of thing never happens again. You need to have sanctioning in Milwaukee. You need to make sure that there's doctors, there's a commission, all of those things. That has to happen.
Duke is a promoter that runs sanctioned events as well.
They don't sanction kickboxing in Milwaukee. They do not sanction kickboxing there. So. And they've tried to sanction it, they just haven't sanctioned it. So you have the option. What are you going to do? Do unsanctioned events or no events? Duke chose unsanctioned events. I think that's somewhere he's going to look back and go, I wish I never did that. But people die in fighting. It happens. It's a terrifying truth to the reality of combat sports. And this young man lost his life. And among the people that'll be the most depressed and sad about that, Duke is depressed. He's been depressed for the last year. Duke found his 15-year-old sister dead. Or his sister dead when he was 15. He didn't talk about her for years. He handles.
And you spoke to him yesterday,
I spoke to him yesterday. He handles death by saying nothing. He's been depressed about the issue. So that's one area. On his watch at a show he put on, somebody passed away. You don't want that to ever happen. Imagine how he feels. Everything needs to be done to make sure that never happens again. But that has absolutely nothing to do with a couple of people that used to train at a place saying years later, oh, the environment was, there's lots of different types of gyms. When I was a kid, I got hit by sticks when I trained in Taekwondo to teach me. you can choose the type of training environment you want. You want a tough love training environment?
Yeah.
What are we going to start saying the Marines are too tough now too? That when you become a Marine, oh, we can't, because over in North Korea, their guys are training real hard. And it's the same thing in fighting. You're going to be dealing with teams that train a certain way. If you want a family environment, a safe, gentle type of environment, they have martial arts gyms for that too. You want a tough one where you get yelled at, get pushed. Maybe sometimes the fights are pushed to the limit to see what level of fighter you are.
Isn't it up to the trainer to understand that with pro fighters, you push them to the brink, but do you push amateurs to the brink like that?
Some do. I mean, how do you become a pro fighter when you're a young man who says you want to fight? You see if you can really handle it. There's a lot of different ways that people train people. And hey, let's just say for the sake of argument that the way he did it, we don't like it. People don't like it. Has nothing. That is not causation for the loss of life at an unsanctioned event. So why on earth, when you've got the internet, the pylon effect, as you put it, the internet, social media, that causes people to go, yeah, see, I don't like that guy either. You wouldn't believe what he did. Oh, my God. Rose went back and trained there after being away for a while. She went back and trained again. So she's like, oh, for 6 years I trained in a place like, listen, man, I wouldn't train in a place like that for 6 weeks. I've trained in gyms that are very calm and very friendly and very polite, and I trained in gyms where people tried to rip my heel off. They literally, 2 guys in the same day tried to heel hook me, part of the same clique related to the coach. You know what I did? I never trained there again. Ever. Never, ever got on that mat ever again. Because that's not what you do. So you don't end up training in places, oh, and I was a coach there, and after 8 years of it, there's a lot of reasons people don't like their coach, their coworker, their boss, or whatever. You don't drag that in and connect it to the death of some young man. That to me, they should be ashamed of themselves.
So you think that, Pat Barry and Rose for taking this time, because I do respect the comments less when you say it after the fact.
For sure, man.
When you say it after the fact.
Yeah.
And it's almost, the same thing almost with George St. Pierre, makes tens of millions of dollars, takes a break, and then says, oh, you wouldn't believe the stuff I know.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't have a problem
Exactly.
last month when you were on the poster making the money. What do you know?
And even if we say that what they're saying is true, and it's an environment that you wouldn't want your kids training in, that's something Duke and Pettis is part owner of the gym owners are going to have to deal with that reputation and how they change that in the city of Milwaukee and elsewhere.
Yeah, because if you have a 12-year-old son, you're reading this in the Milwaukee Spectator like I did. Yeah. You're thinking, there's no way in hell I'm sending my son to this guy's school.
But all of these people who got so much from Duke, and I am a friend of his. He is somebody I do look up to, and I'm close with lots of his fighters.
He's being portrayed as a monster right now.
He has right now. And so now we've damaged this man's business because people who used to work for him have bad things to say about him. The man is hurt emotionally, frightened and depressed after losing a kid on his watch. And now everybody's piling on. This type of effect is something only in modern time do we see with social media and all this stuff. A kid died, and let's say that he's got an environment you don't want to be in. Those things have no connection to each other, and to just go after a good man like that is real tragic.
Now, with that being stated, how many other gym owners right now, Robin, are thinking to themselves, holy crap.
Oh, yeah.
When does Fighter X get on Twitter and say, you know what happened to me when I was at this gym, and then it's going to be a snowball effect. It's going to happen. As we said, it's the social media pylon effect, because somebody else is going to be thinking, if they came out, I got to say something about this guy. Yeah. But isn't there, and it's almost a dark side, isn't there? In which, as you stated, fighters are trying to hurt each other at times. Of course. But there's going to be politics anyway, right? There's politics in an office. There's going to be politics in a gym, right?
That's exactly right. This kind of politics has physical damage that's done. It's sometimes scary and stuff. And you want to find the gym where you have just the right fit. You've got you need an expert coach who's got a certain mentality. But some people want that father figure who does push you. And that's what I always looked for in a good coach. And that's what Duke Roufus is. If we're going to just turn on every old school coaching mentality, Fight Club, you go up and you stand there, you're too fat and you're too small, and you stand there for 3 days and we think it's a great movie. You know what I mean? In the military, they do that kind of thing. This is a part of training to be a fighter. You don't go and kick a man when he's down and somebody lost their life and just start piling on that he's a monster. That to me is terrible.
All right, there's Robin Black. You can check out his breakdown of the big Cub Swanson and Frankie Edgar fight on 5 rounds. Of course, he's the best in the business when it comes to analyzing the fights. I don't always agree with his selections, but you're great at analyzing them, Robin. And I think we might be on different sides of this one, as I don't bet on the Chicago Cubs, but I do bet on Mr. Cub Swanson. Cub Swanson's an underdog in this fight. I was surprised about the number, Robin. Edgar's such a big favorite here. Minus 250, minus 260.
Cub Swanson is one of my most favorite fighters to watch on earth. The elegance combined with the power, he's a very special fighter. I didn't pick Frankie to win it. I've already analyzed Cub because he's one of my favorites two,
So
three,
you haven't made a
4
pick
times.
yet.
And I haven't made a pick yet. It's one of the best fights of the decade.
Best fights of the decade.
It really is. Matchup-wise, for two pure, ultra-skilled guys, non-title fights, one of the best ones we've ever seen.
Yeah, no, it really is for a non-title fight. You're right. It doesn't get much better than this. And I think that I let my friendship with Gray Maynard, and this happens. This happens. I'm not friends with a lot of fighters, but I became buddies with Gray, a great guy, and I was hanging around with him in the era of the trilogy with Edgar.
Oh, yeah.
So it rubs off. We talk about politics, Robin, and
for
cliques
sure,
and
man.
stuff, right?
For sure.
It was like, I don't like Frankie.
Yeah.
Gray doesn't like Frankie. I don't like Frankie.
Yeah,
I could even had him on the show once. He was in town. I was like, I'd be a hypocrite. And it's funny now. I've realized it was kind of petty of me. I got a ton of respect for Edgar as a fighter. What a consummate professional he is. Shows up and fights all the time.
Yeah, and doing this breakdown that I did, it really gave me insight into just how special he is. But you're right, we are all colored by so many different things, and it really affects our view of things, and social media makes it terrifying.
All right, well, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back with Joey Odessa. Social media is terrified of him.